Always a
I will come down to your height. There we go. This is Deb Robinson, head historian from the Geelong Jail Museum. She's joining me today for the launch of, is it E Division?
D Division.
D Division, the tours at Pentridge Prison. That's exactly where we are. So that's the gates to Pentridge, and that's the vista that most crooks would have had as they walked to freedom. I'm going to be talking about, I think that if I get the date right, it's important to get dates right when you're a historian, 28 October 1904.
Yep.
And it's a date when 3 people were locked up and 1 was chucked out. Now, one of the things I find fascinating with Deb is she's got such a handle on names and places that it allows us to link so many crooks together in their careers. Now, the 3 people that were being brought in were Valentine Keating, his wife Harriet Adderley, and a fellow who was known as John Collins, but his real name was Vaughan, Edward Vaughan. Now, the guy being chucked out, do you want to tell them who was being chucked out that day?
Percy Ramage, who of course is one of our favourites down at Geelong Jail, so because of all the trouble that he used to get into down there, but he was also here the same day.
People passing. Now, Ramage was a uniquely special individual. He had a mate called, what was Buck's first name?
Now you put me on that. I think it's William, but I'm not sure.
There were so many Williams.
I know.
But when you get those duos that have those amazing aliases, it was Buck and Ramage.
Yeah.
And it just kind of has this ring like Bonnie and Clyde, hey? But Buck and Ramage had a sport. And you got to remember that police in that 1900-1904 period, they had a route and they'd walk around the same set of blocks. It was called a beat. And their favourite sport, Deb?
Was bashing them.
They'd hunt down the coppers and bash them almost within an inch of their lives. So he was brought here for a fair throw and he was being released on 28 October 1904. And when he got to court, they said, we want you to leave the country. And he had an option. He had South Africa as a place he could go because he had family there. Why did he have family there, Deb?
I believe they were fairly well off. It was just him that would like to be in trouble, as some of them did.
He was a disgraced noble family member, ultimately.
Black sheep.
Yeah, black sheep is a good way of putting it. But then coming in, and the irony here is that coming in was Valentine Keating, who was the head of a notorious gang called the Crutchy Push. Now, we love people who have disabilities, don't we, Deb?
Yes, we do.
Voila. So
this one we prepared earlier.
This hits a bit close to home. Valentine Keating was missing half a leg. Now, is it above or below the knee? I should know this.
I think it was below the knee.
Right. There's a lady called Tansy Bradshaw out there. Tansy, if you're watching, you'd know the details. She's a genius with all things crutchy push. But the gang he ran were called the Crutchy Push, as in to walk on crutches, because they're missing half a leg, up to as many, I think probably reliably at least 3, maybe as many as 6 of their members were missing half a leg.
One of my favourite gangs, just purely and utterly for what they did. They didn't let their disabilities stop them. They still managed to beat the crap out of people.
If anything, I would.
Do what they want.
Yeah, if anything, I believe the addition of the crutches is like a martial arts weapon.
Yep.
They became, and they also had that same sport of finding policemen on the beat, who they would then just chase down and pummel with their crutches. So coming into jail is Valentine Keating, his wife Harriet Adderley. Now, we think of women as these poor defenceless things. She was deadly. She was and when we remember people like who are some of the women brawlers? I mean, Cranky Bella is renowned.
Cranky Bella. I know down Geelong there was a prostitute called the Smasher in the early days, which always amuses me. I love prostitute names.
The
They're really
Smasher.
Cool. Yeah, the Smasher.
Wow.
Yeah, you'd really want to pay money to go and see her down a dark alley.
I was going to ask, did she acquire that name for prostitution or for
don't know.
boxing?
I haven't worked out where she got it from yet.
But we're talking about very physically capable, violent women. And in the context of a push gang, they were known as soakers. A female member of a push gang is called a soaker because?
Basically, they were the ones who were getting the alcohol usually.
They're the supplier of the alcohol. So they're coming in for hunting down a copper with John Collins. And John Collins is an alias you get with a lot of crooks. They get arrested. They say, "What's your name?" They say, "John Collins." Now, I have seen.
That's as good as John Smith.
Yeah, it is. It's just a my name is alias, right?
Yes.
John Doe, good example.
Yeah.
But this John Collins seems to be, if not the original, one of the originals, and it makes me wonder if he was hated amongst others enough that they got arrested. Others who get arrested, they say, "Who are you?" You say, "I'm that fellow, I'm John Collins."
Because remember, in this time period too, it's not as if you had a birth certificate or a driver's license in your pocket to prove who you were, so they could make up names wherever they wanted.
So you got John Collins being chucked in here with Valentine Keating and Harry Adderley for 5 years. In this duration of this stay, while they're here, this is the first time Valentine Keating and John Collins come in contact with Squizzy and Claude Taylor, when they also get here for a 3-month period. So that's a little brief overview of this gate, this part of the world, the 28th of October 1904, Crutchy Push and Buck and Ramage. We'll post some more stuff, but make sure you hit like and give us any comments that you thought were interesting.